One day I was about 7 or 8 years old, and one of my dad's creditors came in to our house with basically a bouncer and beat my father up bloody in front of me, my youngest sister. He wanted his money, and we were all crying. When they left, my mother asked me to go and get my uncle. I had to walk, I had a pair of shoes with holes in them, and I had to walk in the snow for about an hour to get to my uncle and bring him back. My feet were freezing. I was crying to get to my uncle. And on the way, when I was walking, and this vision I never forget, I said to myself, one day I'm going to have so much money and success that I will take care of my family and they will never live in poverty. That was a defining moment in my life that stays in my mind even to date. And that's what really made me.
I'm live with Isaac Larian, founder and CEO of MGA Entertainment. It's awesome to have you here today, Isaac.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you for having me.
Of course. As we were getting ready, I mentioned something I've always admired about you, Isaac, is from afar is the vibrant sense of humor that you and the touch of love and laughter that you bring into the often serious world of business. And we're going to get into the story of MGA, the toy industry, and all the stuff that you've built over the last, is it 20 or 30 years?
44 years.
44 years. Okay, I should have. But I just wanted to take a step back, and something I've always been fascinated by when I've heard the stories about you, your early life in Iran, the up and down journey, and the road that got you to where you are today. So if we can start wherever you want, but basically I'd love to give our listeners the unfiltered version of what life was like for you before MGA and how those trials and tribulations got you to where you are today.
Thank you. I was born in Kashan, Iran. And when we were 4 years old, my parents moved to Tehran, and my dad went bankrupt. He was in the textile business. So we moved to a suburb of Tehran, with like the slums. At that time, it was really slums of the Tehran, and it was called Narmak, where there was no running water, no electricity, uh, and it was basically tough life there. And I grew up there. I remember my mother would sit with me under candlelight at night because we didn't have electricity to teach me math and writing. But we always had a good sense of humor that that's life. And even though it was very very tough at times, very tough at times. And one of the things that made me and changed me was, in Tehran, it was snowing in the month of December, and one day I was about 7 years old, 7 or 8 years old, and one of my dad's creditors came in to our house with basically a bouncer and beat my father up bloody in front of me, my youngest sister. He wanted his money, and we were all crying. And when they left, my mother asked me to go and get my uncle, and I had to walk. I had a pair of uh, shoes with holes in them, and I had to walk in the snow for about an hour to get to my uncle and bring him back. My feet were freezing. I was crying to get to my uncle. And on the way, when I was walking, and this vision I never forget, that, I said to myself, one day I'm going to have so much money and success that I will take care of my family and they will never live in poverty. that was a defining moment in my life that stays in my mind even to date. And that's what really made me. I worked at my dad's off shop. He had a small shop, textile shop, since I was 9 years old. And at 17, I basically told my mom and dad I want to go to America. I had just seen this movie called Easy Rider with Peter Fonda and in Hollywood, and I saw this beautiful thing, and I thought, oh my God, this is America. This is where I want to go. I had big afro at the time, and I thought, well, I'm gonna land in LAX, and all these blonde girls are gonna be there to pick me up. So, so this is what I was looking for, and my parents borrowed $753 from my uncles and a one-way ticket, and I came to America and came to LAX. Of course, there were no blonde girls around to pick me up. As a matter of fact, people would not even say hi to me. They were not talking. So that was a hard reality. And I got an apartment in Inglewood. Uh, I was paying $90 a month and started looking for a job. And I was walking up and down. We were close to La Brea Avenue, so I was walking down La Brea, looking for jobs in gas stations, 7-Eleven, coffee shops, and finally in Hawthorne, was about 11 miles from my house. Uh, I went to a coffee shop called the Spires, which is still there, and asked for a job, any job. And they said no, and it was getting dusk. I was really hungry and tired and wanted to go home now. I had to walk back 11 miles, and I had 25 quarters of that $753 left in my pocket. So, yeah, so I was really walking back home, and this guy who was at the Spires coffee shop uh, behind the counter cooking came and put his hand on my shoulder and he asked me, "Am I Persian?" I said, "Yes, I am." So he talked to me. His name was Mo, and he said hello to me in Farsi, salam, and he says, uh, "Come back." So we went back to the coffee shop, and he said, "Are you hungry?" I said, "Yes." So he gave me liver and onion, which I still go there once in a while to eat. That coffee shop is still there. And then he gave me a job as a dishwasher and the graveyard shift, 11 to 7 in the morning, $1.65 an hour. And that was my first job. So, so that's what happened. Then, I then I became a busboy. Then I became a waiter, and I put myself through school. Graduated in 1978 from Cal State, LA, and then I started my company in 1979.
So where and how did you start your company? And I guess how did you get into the toy business? Because I know you didn't initially start there. And then can you give us an idea of sort of the impact MGA has had on the toy industry since?
Yes. So, as a kid growing up, we were poor. I never had toys. The only toy I had was a kite that I made myself from old newspaper and two pieces of wood and a string. So, but in 1979, after graduating, I have a civil engineering degree, and uh, I went to work for maybe a week or two at uh, California Department of Highways. And there they were asking me to go bring coffee, bring file papers, etc. So, so I quit and I started a company called Surprise Gift Wagon, where I was selling giftware from Korea by mail order. And that company later on became ABC International Traders, which were selling consumer electronics. And I think in 1982, 83, we became the distributor for Nintendo Game and Watch. Maybe later, I think 85, 87, about that time. And that's how I got into the toy business. I named the company that division Micro Games of America. Uh, and because I wanted to kind of be connected to Nintendo of America. And that company later on became MGA.
And how did you get into the toy business from being in electronics?
Well, Nintendo Game and Watch, Nintendo handheld games were toys. So that's how I got into that business. I was importing, I was distributor for Nintendo handheld games. They were much more profitable, and but even that has its own story. You know, you talk about entrepreneurship in consumer electronics. At that time, you buy a Walkman or something, you could have sold these for 4 or 5 years. But with the toy business, kids are very fickle and they change. So when I had the Nintendo Game and Watch on year one, I did $32 million in sales, and year two, I did about 45 million. Then by the end of year two, I had $10 million of inventory, and nobody wanted Nintendo Game and Watch anymore, and I almost went bankrupt. So I liquidated that merchandise, but learned a good lesson from that and used that to create toys, but always be on the lookout to change. To change, you have to be a chameleon in the toy business, frankly, or in any business, to change.
I guess you came to America with nothing. You were a busboy. You put yourself through school. And then you mentioned that in those first couple of years of being a distributor for Nintendo, you went from almost nothing to $30+ million, $40+ million in sales. So you essentially became a millionaire in a few years, right?
Yeah, you don't become a millionaire from $40 million of sales of Nintendo. But yeah, I guess you can say I made $1 million. But the year number three, I lost all of it because I had to liquidate my inventory to at a loss. Uh, so it started from the beginning.
I guess in those first 2 years, were you like, I made it?
Yeah, of course. You think, wow, you feel, wow, I made it. I found a way. But then life teaches you a lesson not to get uh, so confident. Things are changing all the time. I have a saying, uh, which I learned from Andy Grove, who was the CEO of Intel at the time, and I had the honor to be uh, uh, basically. Uh, I spent a couple of days with him where he mentored me. And one of the things that he said was, only the paranoid survive. Isaac, be paranoid. And, uh, and that's the thing that I still use today. I tell my children, my employees, be paranoid. Only the
Hmm.
paranoid survive.
So you came that year. You almost went bankrupt. How did Bratz enter the picture?
Yeah, so we started with that. Then we started making other toys. We made our first doll called Singing Bouncy Baby in the 1996, I believe. And that was our first doll. And the Singing Bouncy Baby went to become the toy of the year that year. And I took that to sell to retailers. And Toys R Us bought it, Kmart bought it, Target bought it, Walmart buyer at the time his name was Ron Stover. He said he won't buy it. And I said, why, Ron? And he said, I don't know. I'm not going to buy this. I said, do you like the doll? Yes. Do you like the packaging? Yes. Do you like the TV commercial? Yes. So what is the issue? The pricing is $20 retail, so it's incredible. And he says, yeah, those are all right, Isaac, but there are two problems. One is that you don't have experience in making dolls, and two, who will buy a doll from a company called Micro Games of America? So I said, Ron, you know something? I'm going to change the company name now to MGA. So MGA are the three initials of Micro Games of America. And and he said, you're too quick, man. Okay, I'll give you a try. So so we started with that, and then I had other dolls that came and he wouldn't buy. And one day he said to me, Isaac, if you bring in a toy, a doll that competes, he was being sarcastic, competes with Barbie, uh, I will buy it. And Barbie at the time had 98% market share. So I said, okay. I came back, told my design team, come up with something that's going to compete with Barbie. Barbie is blonde, blue eyes. I mean, and they had 98% market share. And everything that they came to me was basically a copy or knockoff of Barbie. And I said, no, I want something different. I don't want it just a knockoff. And finally, a designer in September of 2000 came to us named Carter Bryan and showed us some drawings that with these dolls, and he named them Bratz. And to be honest with you, I thought they look alien. But my daughter Jasmine at the time, I used to take my kids to work. Uh, she was there. She was, I think, 10 or 11, and she told me, Dad, they really look cool. They're different. So I said, okay, if she thinks they're good, we will do it. And so we signed that up and we rushed to get the product out. And Bratz was born in 2001 and went on to become the number one fashion doll 4 years later, uh, and had 46% market share. Barbie's market share dropped to 43%. And, Mattel's history uh, has been over the years that they basically litigate their competition to death. That is their was maybe I think they have changed now a little bit because they learned the tough lesson from MGA, frankly, in the Mattel versus MGA case. Uh, so they wanted to litigate us to death, and they filed this frivolous lawsuit in 2004, which basically almost uh, destroyed and bankrupted the company. It went through two trials. On the first trial, we had a judge who was really biased, and uh, and so he had basically a directed verdict at the first trial, and so we lost the first trial. He issued a worldwide draconian injunction, and we had $100 million judgment against us. We appealed those, and his that judgment was overturned in the Court of Appeal, and he left the bench, and the case was transferred to uh, another court in Santa Ana. Uh, the judge's name was David Carter, who was much more experienced and even-handed judge. And so we countersued Mattel. And at the end of 6, 7 weeks trial, we won. Uh, Not only the jury sided with us that Mattel has nothing to do with Bratz, but we got a $330 million judgment because they were stealing. Mattel was coming to our showroom under disguise of journalists, etc., and stealing our trade secret, and we had proof of that.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah, so that's what happened.
Isaac, I've watched some interviews with you during that time, and you come off as very confident and also competitive, almost like it's a sport. Thinking back to where you were mentally at that time and your mindset, were you really that bullish that you guys would win, or were you also like nervous? Can you take us back to that time and how you were thinking through
Yeah,
getting through it?
yeah. So my upbringing, I think, made me for to get ready for that case. When you have so much uh, adversity and toughness growing up and coming here, it prepares you uh, uh, for tougher things in life, and that was my upbringing. I knew we haven't done anything wrong. I knew that this lawsuit was frivolous, and I was very confident that at the end we will come on top. So, sometimes there were times that I thought, okay, no, it's not going to happen. Like when the injunction came and the $100 million judgment, but I was confident at the end justice will prevail and we will overcome, and we did.
Mm, that's amazing. Um, since then, I think you built, is it 26 brands that have had over $100 million in revenue? Can you give us a snapshot of where MGA is today in terms of revenue milestones, amount of dolls you've sold, anything that can give listeners an idea of what you've accomplished in numbers?
Yeah, so today MGA is the largest privately held toy company in America, and I'm proud of my team that we are the only toy company who has created over 100 brands from zero, from scratch, uh, and up. Out of those, about 14 have gone to do between 100 million to $10 billion in sales, and those are the the big. Nobody in the history of toy business has done that, and we have done this over and over. I mean, look at this year. We again have a mega hit on our hand called Miniverse, which is a line of maker toys that will be the number one toy by the end of this year. It's a worldwide phenomenon. It will be bigger than Bratz and LOL Surprise combined because it has such a wide demographic. So I give credit to really to my design team, packaging, marketing, uh, PR, all of those guys who make these things happen.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what else is it about you, your management style? You mentioned that you spent some time with Andy Grove. I think that's high output management. Um, what is it about you guys that has led you to being able to innovate and reach that level of success?
Okay, so being private, we don't have all the corporate nonsense politics involved. And when they step into the organization, we try to quickly nip it in the bud. And we don't have all those layers. The culture of MGA is, what have you done today? How can we uh, succeed again? Forget what happened yesterday. Uh, what are we going to do tomorrow? So, and it's a basically owner operator culture. We hire people who are good at what they do, and we give them some goals and tell them, okay, you own this business, whether you're head of design or head of PR or head of marketing, you own your portion of the business. So go ahead and make the best out of it. And that's really the culture that works.
Mm. Something else I've noticed, and I think I've heard as like a trend that you all started, was being a little bit more ethnically ambiguous in your doll structure and being more inclusive. Can you talk to that philosophy?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Up to 2001, when Bratz were launched, really Barbie was the queen of fashion dolls, and she was blonde, blue eyes. She had disproportionately big boobs. I used to joke and I say with her high heels, if she was a real human being, she would be 6'6", and she wouldn't be able to walk because her boobs will make her fall on her face on the floor. So, so that wasn't really the America that I was watching. America is a melting pot. Is made of immigrants. So I wanted to have a doll line that appealed to, was diverse and appealed to everybody. Now, can you imagine 22 years ago, diversity was not talked about as much as it is now. So we came up with four dolls that became Brass Pack. I named one of them Yasmin on my daughter's name, and one of them Sasha, who is her friend, uh, her best friend, and those four dolls, they were basically, we didn't give them ethnicity. We didn't say, "Oh, this is a Persian doll" or "This is an American doll." We uh, we just let the kids decide who they are. And that became one of the biggest things about the success of Bratz doll. We were the first toy company to bring diverse toys to the market. Again, I remember Ron Stover at at the Walmart when I showed this to him. He says, "Okay, Isaac, we will only buy Chloe." Chloe was the blonde doll because only blonde dolls sell. And I said to him, I said, "Ron, my daughter has darker skin and is not blonde, and she doesn't look like Barbie. She wants a doll that more represent her than Barbie." And she said, "No." He said, "No, that's not gonna sell." I said, "Okay, if you want to buy these dolls, you have to buy all four. I won't sell it to you." And he did.
It's funny you say that. I recently read Bob Iger's book, CEO of Disney, and he had a similar situation happen when he bought Marvel, and Black Panther came across his plate, no, across his desk. No one else wanted to take a look at it, and it's interesting he did that way before. Speaking of like movie industries, Mattel, and the fact that you've been pretty outspoken about the brand in the past, with the recent release of the Barbie film, do you have any thoughts on how they portrayed the doll's legacy? Do you see it as a step in the right direction for the brand?
Well, I think Greta and Margot did a fantastic job for that movie and Warner Brothers. Uh, and because Mattel was talking about doing movie for many years, but I think I give full credit to Greta and Margot Robbie for this movie, and and in a way they became open about the history of Barbie in a fun way, etc. And that resonated with the female adult audience who grew up with this toy. I think they took it a little bit too far, talking too much about okay, girls are girl power and men are bad. So that's silly, it's the culture we have now, the woke culture. Either you go all the way to the right or you go to to the left, and there is really no center. But I give them full credit. I give them full credit for what they did, and it was very successful. And I appreciate because they also gave a little portion cameo to Bratz, where they had 4 dolls for girls, and they were called, I think, uh, Sasha, Yasmin, Chloe, and Jade. And so yeah, so they gave us a little bit of a credit with that, because that was Bratz were the first and only fashion doll that challenged Barbie. Uh, Nothing else had to the past.
Given what you just shared about this like polarization, left, right, cancel culture, you've been good about continuously integrating humor into your approach. What have you done, or what do you think about when that could be um, misconstrued, and how do you strike that balance between staying true to your playful nature and ensuring that sensitivity? You mentioned that you guys were ahead of diversity, ahead of a lot of other brands.
Yeah, so it's free, either even under Joe Biden is free to laugh. You don't have to pay taxes on laughter. and it's good to laugh. It's good to laugh. We as human beings take life too serious, and we're only here, if we are lucky, for average life expectancy in the USA is about 78. So so we are here only for a flash, and we gotta do what we want to do, talk about it, etc. Having said that, yes, I'm too outspoken, and people like Alan and other people always try to control me and say, "Oh my God, don't say this, don't say that." But life is short, and I say what's on my mind. And frankly, I don't give a shit about the cancel culture.
Yeah, it's
You
one of
gotta
the
be
it's
who
one
you
of the
are.
benefits of owning just being an owned and operated company, and not needing to needing to answer to external investors. Touching upon like just you as a human being, I think something Sebastian mentioned to me is that you've taken pilgrimages to India, a country that's known for its rich spiritual heritage. You've focused on meditation there. Can you share any transformative experiences or lessons that you've learned from these journeys and how it's influenced you?
Yes, yeah. I have really tried to be spiritual, but not force my spirituality on other people. That is one of the issues we have right now, that people have different beliefs, which is fine, you can respect it, but then they try to force it on other people. And I went to Vipassana. Vipassana is a 10 days silent meditation. Uh, and I decided to go to the center where it all started, outside Mumbai. And I wrote a blog about it, which is on my LinkedIn. Uh, and it was for me a life changing experience. Here I go all the way 36 hours to get to India, from the luxury of Malibu and Beverly Hills, and I go to this room that was literally the size of half of the size of my bathroom, with a bed and the toilet on the corner, and I put pictures of that on my LinkedIn blog, and they had a slab as a bed, uh, and basically no talking, no iPhone, no iPad, no notepad, and you had to do 10 days, 10 hours of silent meditation every day for 10 days. So to me, it was really, really a life changing experience. And what they teach you in the meditation is basically, most of us have, all of us have what I call monkey mind. The mind is going from here, there, and different forms of meditation, especially Vipassana, which is basically focusing on breathing and scanning your body, uh, it calms your mind, calms the monkey, from jumping from one place to another, and uh, t- takes you within. And once you get there, you find out that nothing in life is permanent. Wealth, health, uh, nothing is permanent. Everything changes. Everything changes. It's like an ocean when the tide comes and the big wave, it crashes down and goes back again. So it's not permanent. Nothing is permanent, and that's one of the most it's a simple message, but it is transforming. And it made me. I was always curious, but it made me more curious about life. About life, about aspiration. Yes, his health, also for health. I mean, when you study of the story of uh, Vipassana, how big it became. I mean, it's been around for 2,000 years, but uh, an Indian guy from who lived in Burma brought it back in 1930s because he had a migraine headache and he couldn't get rid of his headache. So one day, one of his employees says, "Go to this monastery. This guy can heal you." And he says, I'm a Hindu. I'm not going to go to a Buddhist temple. And he was told it's not about Buddhism or Hinduism. This guy teaches a method that basically is good for mind and body. So he finally, he was so desperate. He went there, told his driver to wait outside in case he wants to go home because it's trust me, when I was in India for 10 days, if I had my passport, after day four I would run away. I didn't have my passport. They take your passport. My friend Darshan took my passport, so I couldn't run away. But after 4 days, uh, he couldn't take it anymore because it can be brutal. uh, I mean, you can't even have an eye contact during vipassana meditation. So so the the monk broke the noble silence, went to him and said, "Just stay 2 more days, and if you don't get better, you can leave." So after 2 days, his migraine went away, and at the end of the 10th day, he had no migraine anymore. So he came out, went and sold all his business, went to monastery, and for 2 years learned the method of vipassana and took it back to India. And it's a worldwide organization phenomenon. It's free because it's still working on his money. People can make donations if they want, but it's room and board free, and you just learn the art of vipassana meditation. It's good for the mind, but it's also good for the body. I really recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, I think so many of our it's something that it's been on my list, and I think so many of our problems, many of our problems, not everything, can be solved through just like silence and taking a break and just doing nothing. Maybe taking also a break from food and all of that. How has it impacted you on like a day-to-day basis? Like, would you go back and do Vipassana again? Do you integrate meditation into your day-to-day practice?
Yes, so I do vipassana meditation 2 times a day. I don't do it for 10 hours. I do it 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes before I go to bed. And it has become a routine for me, and it really helps me a lot with myself, with my body, with my mind, but also for my business, because it takes away a lot of the noise. So we do that. But the other thing that we have at our company, we have a policy. It's a written policy: take a nap in the afternoon, take a nap. Persians always took a nap in the afternoon and then went back to work. So we tell people, take a 20-minute nap in the afternoon. And it is unbelievable because after between 15 to 18 minutes of napping, uh, you're not completely asleep, but basically it's like rebooting the computer. you get up so refreshed, and you can put another 8-10 hours of work from that. So that's something else that we have. And we have it as a policy at MGA, and people think it's a joke. It's not a joke, it's real.
Yeah, you mentioned being Persian. You were drinking some chai as we got on. You have it by your side. Um, I'm curious what you mentioned your upbringing in Iran, but what else has your family, your community, your Persian heritage, how has it impacted you and your entrepreneurial journey?
You know, as you know, Persians are very close knit, and they are really family oriented, and family support in the business and frankly in life is very very important. This is unfortunately something that is kind of lagging in America, and even in our own community is becoming less and less prevalent, which is unfortunate. But when you have family support, whether it's in business or health or crisis, uh, it really gives you a boost, gives you extra energy to meet the challenges in life heads on and go on. I mean, during the Mattel trial, which took over 10 years, I don't think I could have done it without the support of my family and friends.
Yeah, and then entrepreneurship is also something that is in your family. You know, your kids, your nephews. There's a line of entrepreneurs who have come, you know, that are in and around your family. Um, how does that work? How do you all lean on each other for advice or support? It sounds like you also had a lot of mentors.
Yeah, so entrepreneurship to me is an innate ability, and uh, I used to teach some entrepreneurship classes at UCLA, and as a volunteer, also at Cal State LA, where I graduated from. And the first thing I would write on the whiteboard that if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you have to embrace failure. You have to go with that mindset that what I'm going to do is most likely is going to fail, but you start doing it again. You start doing it again. If you look at Thomas Edison, I think I read somewhere that he had to try and fail over 900 times with the light bulb until he figured it out. So you have to embrace failure in order to succeed as an entrepreneur. Now, entrepreneurship is not good for everybody because if everybody was an entrepreneur, we would have a country full of crazy people running around, and it will not work. So you need uh, all kind of skills to succeed in life. But then in our family, of course, because we are close knit. I mean, I mentored Jasmine, my daughter, uh, a lot since she was a child in entrepreneurship, and now Cult Gaia is $100 million plus business, very successful that she's running, and she took her 10 years to get there. So, Jonathan Neiman with Sweet Green, Sean Rad who's the founder of Tinder. Uh, so basically, I think you look to each other, you get from each other mentorship and move on. But the biggest lesson is don't be afraid to fail.
With the business and the spirituality, what do you like? How do you make an effort to give back, Isaac? I've heard of mentors of mine who have gone on trips with you where you love to donate toys. How do you think about legacy outside of just business success, but also making like a positive impact on the world?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in giving back. Talking about spirituality, one of the after Bible, the biggest selling book worldwide is the book of Rumi, or, and which has been translated to all kind of languages. And one of the things from his poetry that he teaches is we are all like a vessel, and the more you empty the vessel, the more water you can put in it, or wine, uh, to fill it up, and it gets expanded. So you got to give. The more you give, I believe, the more you get. And I have practiced this uh, throughout my life. And like during the pandemic, we created MGA Cares, where I donated $5 million of my own money to bring in uh, masks and other PPE material for front frontline people, especially in the poor areas, to help. And we do that all the time. The earthquake in Turkey happened, and these kids were freezing. We shipped 11,000 blankets there for for them, and that was a good feeling. We're right now mobilizing to do something for Maui, but I also give a lot to uh, hospitals, etc., for mental health. I think mental health is very important, and also to our own community. Uh, Silently, I don't want to talk about it, uh, but even in our own Persian community, there are a lot of people who are suffering uh, from. So you have to give back.
We've touched upon spirituality and Rumi. We've touched upon, your Persian heritage. Is there anything you could speak of about your relationship to Judaism?
Yeah, I am a secular Jew. I think Judaism is, or any kind of religion, uh, has it gives you basically it's like a tree, gives you the roots to stay grounded and be there. But I don't believe in fanaticism, and all these people, whether it's Moses or Muhammad or Jesus or Buddha, they didn't create those religions the way we see it now. I think what I call the mullahs and the priests, they took their teaching and they twisted it to their benefit. It really bothers me that during the centuries, how many people, even today, have been killed in the name of the same God. Same God. They kill each other in the name of same God. Muslims, Jews, Christians, Buddhists. So, so to me, I think uh, I think organized religion uh, is not really the answer. It's okay to have that spirituality for your groundness, but I think if I think the religion fanatics, whether it's Catholicism, Judaism, Islam, etc., I think it has been hijacked by a few to the disadvantage of the rest of the population.
As you reflect on your life and career, Isaac, how do you want to be remembered, both within the toy industry and by your loved ones? And yeah, go on.
Yeah, so in the toy industry, not there's nothing better. People, I have now three grandchildren. I always had a special connection and the love for children. I mean, people say when you're around children, people who know me, they see a change in my facial expression, my eyes. So I love children. I love kids. I think they're the best things. And toy business is about making the kids happy. I mean, my grandson Lev, has an office right next to mine, and it is fascinating. So, I think toys are very special to bring happiness and imagination to children for their future, because it expands their imagination to the future. So I hope that legacy stays, that we make toys primarily not to first make money, first to make kids happy. Money will come. Money is a bystander. It will come. If you believe in anything in life and you do it for the passion that you have, uh, it's been my experience. When you do that, the money will come. But if you just do it, say, okay, I'm going to do this to make money, usually, usually doesn't come. So that's how I like to be remembered in the toy industry. And for my legacy when I'm gone, for my grandchildren, grandchildren, etc., to see that nothing in life is permanent, and you have to be pres- persevere, and with in the face of adversities, and don't give up. And when you don't give up, you will succeed.
Thank you, Isaac. This has been an amazing conversation. A big reason I wanted to have you on is because, as a company that's focused on health and well-being, uh, a lot of people think about exercise and things like that, diet, nutrition. But I think the lens that you've brought that I'm really grateful for is one of spiritual practice. It's one of play and children, um, and family and mentorship and more. I've gleaned so much from your story and really appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for having me. Good luck to you and Sebastian and the rest of you guys.
Thank you.
Keep up with your passion and you will succeed.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it,
Thanks
Isaac.
so much.
Bye.
Take care. Have a good night.
You too.